Hello there. As many of you may or may not know, one of the very first, actually the first YouTube video I ever made about 8 years ago was about my vinyl collection. And it's increased a little bit since then. There's probably more, but these are records that were kind of important. And the first one you see here, roughly 2010 through today, actually the last 3 years maybe, 2011, something like that. This is actually a new vinyl, a reissue of an old one. James Brown's 1970 album, Super Bad. James Brown during his funk period. What more can I say? I don't even need to go there with this. I mean, this was something released at Borders Books and Music before they went belly up. I can't go into it. This is James Brown, it's funk. All you need to know. Another great find, Doing It to Death with the JBs, Fred Wesley and Maceo Parker. And these guys, okay, I can't say any more about this. It's just amazing. It's a People reissue from the 70s. Excellent sounding vinyl, perfect condition. I've played it. I love it. Now, the story behind this is actually pretty interesting. I was at a local radio station record fair in 2011, and I was looking through a friend of mine, my parents actually, named Byron Greatorex, and he had a lot of old jazz and soul records. And I was wondering if he had a Ray Charles album called Ain't It So, from his second stint at Atlantic in the late 70s. I'd seen it around, and he said, "Oh, I don't have it now, but I'll try to look for you." So I took one last look in the bin, and there it was, in plastic. And even he was just surprised that he had it. True treasure of my collection. Never been on CD or anything. Amazing find, Ray Charles from 1979. I don't remember where I found this, but this is from the same period. I believe it's from his second stint on Atlantic, Ray Charles' Love and Peace. This album was recorded in 1978. Ray Charles, of course, produced this, probably from a fairly underrated period of his career. This is another Ray Charles album from his second stint at Atlantic, True to Life. I found this at a store called Record Connection in the town I was born in. Anyway, it's also from his second stint at Atlantic, recorded in 1977. I think the price tag's still on it, too. The white thing up there. Sugar Hill Gang. Now, this is probably the first hip-hop album. We all know Rapper's Delight from this album. This is another one I got from Borders new when it was closing down. And if you open up, it's a huge gatefold of Master G, Big Bang Hank, and Wonder Mike. And it's time to say hello to the black, the brown, the purple, and yellow. You all know the song. It's presented here in its full, length. And this is actually a funk album with some vocals on it. Sugar Hill Groove, excellent early 80s funk. Shows you where hip-hop truly came from. It's funky. Oscar Peterson, Sol Espanol. I love this cover. I love the way that lady's dressed. Very, very hip. Oscar Peterson is a Canadian jazz pianist. Very well noted. I found this 1966 album at the Goodwill. You can find a lot of great vinyl at the Goodwill if you just look a lot. Another one from Borders, Roy Ayers' Coffee, blaxploitation soundtrack from the Pam Grier film. There's Pam on the top with her pink brasserie. There's Roy Ayers in the middle. I love his mutton chops. Funk, 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 and more funk. If you don't like funk, you're not going to like this, people. David Byrne, Make Believe Mambo's 12-inch single from 1989. I'm hearing his last album with the Talking Heads, Naked. I figured this might be a good one to have from his Luca Pop label. David Byrne was doing some great Afro-funk during that time. Now, I found this at, along with that David Byrne single, at a store in Portland that's now defunct. Portland, Maine, that is, called Sounds Absurd. And this is Brown Mark. He was actually from Prince and the Revolution. His name is Mark Brown. I didn't know he recorded a solo album, but I found it there. This was recorded in 1987. I haven't listened to that yet. My turntable has a lot of CDs on it. I should get that off. I love playing vinyl a lot of the times. This is something I actually found on a free bin at the local recycling center. Unbelievable. The Supremes with Diana Ross live at London's Talk of the Town in great shape. And this is pictures of Diana. I believe by this time, 68, it was Cindy Birdsong who was replaced Florence Ballard in the band. Look forward to hearing that. Now this is Ron Carter and Hubert Laws, Bob James, Billy Cobham, Frank West, Jay Berliner, Eddie Burt, and so forth, on a record called Empire Jazz, which is Star Wars jazz album from the early 1980s, 1980 to be precise. I found this also. It sounds absurd. Really excited about this one. Really rare, really hard to find. I love it. This is Tika Nelson. Now, if anybody is unaware of who she is Prince's sister, believe it or not. And she recorded this solo album, Royal Blue, in 1988. David Z. From The Revolution co-produced this with her. Tiara, my mother had a couple of singles by them. I found these albums that sound absurd too, from the discount bin. Probably pretty easy to get actually, but I always like their sound. Another album by Tiara. They're from the early 80s, late 70s, respectively. Johnny Little, Solid State, another album I found at the Goodwill. And it has a beautiful gatefold if you open it up. And the back, I just love the cover art of this. Phoebe Snow, It Looks Like Snow. Hard to find these days. She does a cover of The Temptations, Shaky Ground, getting a little more into funk on this album. I always love Phoebe Snow. Her voice and her talent is so unique. R.I.P. Phoebe, your sound is beloved. And this is Dave Mason. It's Like You Never Left. I also found this at the Goodwill in a town called Rockland. I always liked Dave Mason in Traffic. Never had one of his solo albums, but this game highly recommended. And it has a gatefold. If you open it up, photograph, lyrics. This I found yesterday at a store called it's called the Vinyl Exchange, something like that in Portland. Supercharge are a European funk band. This is actually Carhenge in the American South. It's a famous place you can visit. I always loved that cover, and I was always told you'll never find this album anywhere. It's not on CD. You can't get it on iTunes or anything. But here it is. Cost me only $4. DJ copy, but I don't care. Really look forward to hearing that. Love the cover art. This is Wild Cherry. You know them for Play That Funky Music. I found this for Buck at Bull Moose. I love my music. Most of Wild Cherry's other records, other than their debut with The Lips and the Cherry on it, are pretty rare, actually. But I'm really happy I found this album. There's the band on the back. Because most of Wild Cherry's other albums, I don't know if it's as good as their first, are really hard to find. This one, I always loved the cover for this, but it was always really expensive and out of reach. The debut of Norman Whitfield's first band pet project after The Temptations, 1971, The Undisputed Truth. They're like in a campfire standing around an eternal flame. I love that. The funk, I call it people music kind of message. And this has a song called Smiling Faces, which was a huge hit for them. Very underrated group. Cannot wait to hear this. This I found in the 25-cent bin of a place called Strange Maine. Natalie Cole, Happy Love. Came out in 1981. Now I know this was probably the worst period of her noted cocaine addiction. So it's pretty good for what she was going through at this time. And I've always kind of looked forward to hearing this album because it's actually, sometimes an artist produces their most unique material under a duress, and she certainly was that when this album was released. So that's my vinyl collection, updated after 8 years. I may have more to come, but that's what I got for today. Enjoy your music, and enjoy your collecting.